I'm happy to announce that I have both Kyle and Jake here who hunted with us this past fall. Went on an epic hunting adventure in one of our locations called the Hideout.
I mean, we just couldn't believe it, and he literally just come right in and 30 yards broadside, just stopped and was checking out the scene.
Called bulls from 5 miles off. I mean, I used spotting scopes up on the top of the mountain to show them.
We basically were sitting there at camp, took a knee with the rifle at ready, and we watched them come across the river and walk right up to us.
Those bulls that come in that are sublegal, that's perfect. They're also going to be asking me questions of what they could have done differently and better, and I'm going to share with them what I think I would have done. Stay tuned. This is going to be a good one.
I mean, it's an awesome place.
Okay.
That river is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a drop hunt a few years ago, you know, and we killed a moose that year. You know, 60-inch bull, just a dandy.
Yeah.
Just shy of Boone and Crockett, but man, we talked throughout here. This trip was fun, really. You know.
Was it really?
Yeah, we had a lot more.
It would have been way better, you know.
Yeah. We had a lot more adventure. We were able to see a lot of different things. I mean, we seen moose, we seen black bear, we seen grizzly bear, we seen 2 timber wolves.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, we had one timber wolf at 30 yards. We had another at about 80-ish or so yards, and you know, of course, if you're not walking with a rifle at ready, you don't have much opportunity at them. And then the following day, we seen 2 moose. That following morning, and basically that grizzly bear was following the tracks of that second moose. The second moose come across the river, or walked across the river, and came right into camp. I mean, we got videos and pictures of them.
Wow.
30 yards from our tent, and we were sitting at the campfire at the time.
You're going to send me those videos and pictures, aren't you?
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and that bull we feel was 50 inches. It was
wow.
3 grow tines, so you know, of course we didn't shoot.
It was close. It was close.
So you know, you're looking at 10 inches on the back pan, right? And we talked about this in the training courses and stuff, but it's hard to, if you're just not really good at it, you don't want to pull the trigger and then hope for 50. You got to know, and without that 4th brow tine, you got to.
And that's when you had narrow palms, really. If you looked wide, you know, based on, you know, his head width and all that.
Yeah.
But his palms were narrow, and he was right in there. He was a dandy bull.
Wow.
We watched him for a long time.
Yeah.
We basically were sitting there at camp, took a knee with the rifle at ready, and we watched him come across the river and walk right up to us. We're cow calling that morning.
Oh.
And I mean, we just couldn't believe it, and he literally just come right in and 30 yards broadside, just stopped and was checking out the scene.
You ever wonder why I'm always successful year after year after year, moose hunting all across Alaska? I get a 16-inch bull every single year that I go out. 1, it's having a good moose hunting strategy. 2, it's being able to moose call and knowing the right calls at the right time. And 3, it's implementing all of these 3 strategies together. You got to be able to know what call to use at the right time.
He actually just strolled through our gravel bar, and he went back to the location where we were doing our noon cow call.
Wow.
We were able to follow his tracks and seeing what he did, and yeah, I mean, basically he just took our trail back there to where we were doing our noon cow call, and he spent a little time circling that area.
Yeah.
And then, I guess he went on his way.
Well, that's what they do. Wherever you're going to be cow calling at, they're going to go to that spot. So if you move a lot, you're going to mess things up because they're going to hear you over here. Eventually, they're going to come in. That's been my experience. But if you're doing a float hunt, and then you drift down a couple more miles or 10, you're going to have bulls coming to that first spot upriver where you've been cow calling, but you're not there anymore.
Right.
And that's kind of the bummer part of calling in one area and moving and calling and moving is Well, you're going to be missing moose along your adventure. But you ended up.
We noticed it was like 3 days, because we started up at the hideout.
Yeah.
Like it was the third day we had that 40-incher come in, two days in a row. We called him into 15 yards.
Yeah.
And, then we went down river, and then about 3 days later, we seen bulls 2 days in a row, and then it shut off.
So,
So Troy, that grizzly bear, it followed us, that bull into camp, basically.
Yeah.
And I mean, it got to within 100 yards of us on the gravel barn. We spooked it with our hands. We didn't yell or nothing. But I tell you, so we never seen another moose after that, and we were, questioning what's going on there because it was getting so hot and heavy with moose. We seen 3 in 2 days.
Yeah.
And then like 2 days before we left, we woke up in the morning and that grizzly tracks was right at our tent. So we're kind of wondering if maybe that, not that we're spooked of it, but we're wondering if that grizzly was just spending all his time in that little area and maybe pushed the moose to the next hill or whatever.
I've never experienced that with bears. I have called in quite a few grizzly bears to my cow calls. Me and my buddies have done it many times. So he's going to sit there and freak with that area, and then you're going to call in wolves to your cow call. And at the hideout, we called in a pack. Me and my buddies called in a pack of wolves. I think we talked about that. Just upriver around the bend, we called in a pack of wolves, and then they end up coming in camp that night. And when we finally got a moose down, then they got even more bold, and they were right in camp. And
yeah, I mean, so we're of course from Minnesota. We're not from Alaska. We don't have a lot of experience. I mean, we shot a bull a few years ago, but I mean that was the only bull on that trip that we had to size up, and it had brow tines all over the place.
Right.
No brainer.
Makes it easy.
Oh yeah, but I tell you, when this one come in, we both knew it was right there.
Yeah.
It really wasn't one either of us were going to shoot. It might have been 54 inches, but just not knowing, without the brow tines, I mean, it was a pretty easy decision for us. As hard as it was to just watch him, because he was a beast of an animal.
Yeah.
We think he's going to be a real trophy here in a couple of years, because it seemed to us like he was, an immature bull. I mean, but he had some great genetics, because he was pretty wide in comparison, but his paddles seemed real narrow.
Yeah.
And he didn't have any front palms at all. It was just.
Yeah. Tall tale sign is those 2 or 3 points up front. If they're less than 10 inches, 10 inches. If each pan is 10 inches and 10 inches, then you've got a legal 50+ inch bull, maybe even a 60-inch bull at that point. The inside rack from the inside to the inside is no less than 27 from the 30, 40 moose that I've taken a tape measure to dead on the ground out to about 34, 35 inches to that inside before the pans go out. From there is really how you judge the width of an animal. I don't use the pupil or the ears. I use how wide is that pan. And I have been mistaken a time or two with a buddy of mine named Butch, and I told him not to shoot because I knew it was way in the 50s, but it ended up being 63 inches, and it was just because the pan he was much wider than I thought inside, but his pan was only 8.5 inches, and we measured it later on the ground. And you're seeing, I'm going to show that right now too when I cut this up. But
so one point that I thought was pretty amazing, to be honest with you, was so we got dropped right at the hideout location.
Yeah. And
then unfortunately, I don't want to get into that story quite yet, but we hunted that location for only like the first 3 days.
Yeah, when you had to move, that was I was bummed out for you guys. I mean, I know those bulls will move from that lake down to where you're at, but and hindsight being what it is, we should have went in with 2 rafts. And from now on, everyone's going in with 2 rafts, 2 moose rafts.
Well, Okay, so since we're talking about the airplanes, let's talk about it. So if we landed there, the pilot took off, we were good. And basically right away, or that next day, they texted us, they messaged us, and they said, we are never going to be able to pull out of there with any sort of air, not even us. So, I mean, I guess maybe we were hoping for a change of heart, so we stayed there for, like I say, 2-3 days, and we hunted there, and we started getting that bull to come in. And then the other pilot, texted us again and said, "There's absolutely no way." We had one log on the gravel bar, but we were going to clear it, and we had given them the yardage and everything if we cleared that log, and they just said there's no way. Yep. So we made the decision, and at this point we realized the raft that we chose wasn't large enough to move ourselves, right?
Well, by that point, we already...
The DIY hunters in Alaska, both the resident and the non-resident hunters, only have a 21% chance of success. Now, that's not average. That's the max. That's what is happening in Alaska. If you're coming to Alaska and you've just spent an enormous amount of money to come up here, realize that half of 21% is 10.5. And that means you only have a 10.5% chance of being successful on your moose hunt here in Alaska. Department of Fish and Game has been doing this survey for a long time. You can go into their website and look at it. And it's 21% average for all DIY hunters. Again, that includes both non-resident and resident. So cut that in half, and you got 10.5% chance. And that's every single year. Only 10.5% of all the DIY hunters coming to Alaska are successful. That's it. And I feel for you guys that have spent enormous amount of money coming to Alaska to be successful on a moose hunt, a hunt of a lifetime, knowing you only have a 10.5% chance for success. You have an 89.5% chance of failure after spending all that money. So what are you waiting for? Did I mention you can download all my courses on your phone, take them with you out in the field, and when you're sitting there in camp and you're pondering over what is wrong, what can I do to make this hunt more successful, at your leisure, around the fire, and watch my training courses and go, oh, we haven't tried that yet. Oh, my moose call is a little bit off. I better do it like this. Oh yeah, we can take the raft and go upriver and find that. And it's all right there. And I can't wait to give you some one-on-one training.
When I was there, I used that same raft, but I have my own plane. And I know my Cub's more agile than the mall that you went in with. So I was able to do it, but that tree wasn't there either. I mean, this is true wilderness. I mean, people don't understand. I don't think they really understand true wilderness. Those gravel bars and that river level can change from 1 week. There could be a tree down that wasn't there, but that tree, usually that stuff happens in the springtime when the water's 8 foot high, blowing through there and just blowing everything out.
When that bull came in that morning, it was legitimately, I'll bet you, within 100 yards of where you put it on the pin, where you shot it.
Where I told you, really?
I mean, like pin on top of pin.
Wow. Okay, so the intel you get.
The first morning we heard him grunting and breaking some brush, but then it was like he was going away from us, and so we let it be.
Yeah.
Because we're on our side of the river. Our calls.
Right. Okay.
And then that next morning, we basically heard him again, almost in the same exact spot.
Right.
And then we decided he was going away from us again. We decided to cross the river with the raft, and we did. And then we just got up in there, basically 50 yards into that brush, and we called, and we heard him. And he was still walking away from us. He was walking like downriver.
Yeah.
And so
So just to be clear, you're following my training, my advice on calling moose in, And this is what you've been experiencing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. And so I can.
We realized he wasn't a shooter, but we got some good video of him. I mean, 15 yards in the brush. It's actually a good video because it really shows that terrain and how tall that brush really is.
Oh yeah.
That's a huge animal, and all you could really see was his head.
Yeah.
You know?
Those bulls that come in that are sublegal, that's perfect to keep calling. Don't move. Keep him. If he wants to hang out, let him hang out, because other bulls are listening that you don't even know are there. Called bulls from 5 miles off. I mean, I use spotting scopes up on the top of the mountain to show them, turn their head to my calls and come to me. So there's bulls in that whole valley that were hearing you guys and that bull. It was just a matter of time. There was going to be a 60, 70 inch bull right there next morning or the next evening, but when you left, 60 inch plus bulls showed up there to check it out.
Well, then this same bull after that morning, the next morning, I mean, well, it was 8:30 in the morning. You know, we walked up that gravel bar some more to, you know, kind of just get out of camp, I guess. But we're basically still in camp.
Yep.
He come right to the river. That next same bull.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, he got more aggressive each day, if you would, or more interested or whatever. And our calling technique just stayed the same. We did the same thing.
Well, your pitch was perfect. Had to be good then for that bull to keep coming in like that. In the past, I've actually floated moose down to gravel bars, hiked back and floated the other half down, then hiked back and got in my plane, because I knew I couldn't take off from where I was at in a different area than this one. But that's just part of what you do. You take them to the gravel bar where the plane can go to and can get a load off the ground. It's one thing to come in heavy with you too, like that your pilot did with the maul, because you're coming in and you're landing it. You're going to plant it and land it, and then he's going to take off empty. So that's all doable, but reversing that scenario and now try to take off from that small area heavy, that's just, well, many pilots have tried in other scenarios, and they have a bad outcome.
So one thing about the Hideout, you said the fishing was pretty good, and yeah, we probably ate grayling like 5 nights for supper.
Did you really?
Oh yeah, we had for lunch a couple days. We'd eat it, then yeah. When we didn't have a moose, you know, we had those potatoes. We brought a few pounds of burger froze, you know.
Yeah.
So we ate that the first 4 days, and after that, yeah, it was fish and potato. Man, it was pretty special. Caught a couple of pike too, right there in that spot.
Did you?
Yeah, I was surprised at that. Yeah.
Well, you probably could even get a sheefish or two if you fished long enough. They look like a tarpon.
So I got one question we had while we're out there. So we did our cow calling, and we stuck to it. You know, like first thing, the first light was a cow call, and then, but when I do my cow calls, I do like real long, you know, slow cow call. I do it like 2 or 3 times. You know, first thing in the morning, and a lot of time, you know, and that'd be it for the morning. Sometimes I do like 2 at first light, and then we'd walk that couple hundred yards to our kind of our vantage point, and then I'd do maybe 1 or 2 more, you know, around, you know, an hour after light, and that'd be it. You know, then about 11:30, I do the same thing. I let out 2 long cow calls, then that was it. You know, till evening, and then I do like 2 at 5 o'clock, 2 at 7 o'clock. And that was it. I mean, is that about right, or?
Yeah, I mean, really, you just want to focus on morning, noon, and evening. In the evening time, you can start earlier. On a rainy, cold day, 15th, 17th, beyond, you can hunt all day and cow call probably all day. They're just like elk. I mean, when it's cold and rainy, they don't overheat as easy, and they'll just go for it. They'll be running through the bushes and looking for cows. Then bulls will just come through up from over the top of the mountain from the previous valley over into your valley, and pretty soon every day is a new day. There could be new bulls in the valley. I mean, they're looking that hard.
Well, that's I mean, we didn't want to call and push anything on, and we didn't know how good it was. You can't really hear yourself very good, And yeah, so we just did. And then I was thinking, man, we're doing these cold calls. What if there is one that moves through, or maybe he was waiting across a river upstream and didn't hear the 9 o'clock or the whatever.
They're not.
Now he's gonna wait till noon.
I don't think they're going to be moving that fast in the middle of the day. I mean, that spot is good because that's where they rut. Now the moose I just talked about coming from the valley, other valleys, they're on the hunt and they're moving around. Maybe they've been pushed out of their what was going to be a harem, and now they're moving for another harem. And then when you're getting close to the mountains like that, quite often you get what I call mountain moose, and they can be. I've seen them run completely out of the whole valley before. But the answer to your question is, yeah, later in the hunt that you get, the longer you call in the morning. And I really just kind of stop at 9:30 myself. And on several occasions, I've had bulls come in at 10, and I'm sitting in camp, and they're still pissed off. They're trashing the brush across the river. They're still wanting to come in, and I've quit for 30 minutes now.
But we never did see a moose past 9:30 a.m.
That's the norm. That's what I've experienced all these 30 years of hunting is 9:30 is it. That's kind of like, and they do. I've been up on the vantage points. I've been up in the top of the trees, and they just lay down. And they're just going to lay down, and then they're done until about noon. And I've been at the vantage points, and I've watched them stand up, take a leak, stretch out, grab a bite, and maybe they'll wander 100 yards at the most. Unless I put out a cow call, and if they're rutting good, here they come. That's all. As a matter of fact, they already knew I was there from the morning calling. They just been up all night, and they're taking a break to come in at noon or maybe even that evening. But I let out a cow call, and they're like, "Oh yeah, let's get with it right here," and here they come.
Another question that we had out there: what should we do when the bull? I mean, we had 5 bulls come in and grunt, except the one. That one little guy wasn't grunting, but I mean, when one's grunting and coming in, I mean, should a guy just hang tight and be quiet? Because we feel like we did too much grunting and raking, maybe where they wouldn't come in, because it was pretty open on that gravel bar, and it's like he looked right where he heard our rake and didn't see nothing, so they just kind of hang up at that 80 yards.
Yeah, you don't just play with them enough to keep safe, and just play with them as long as you can, because again, you don't know what other bulls are out there listening, and the next thing you know, here comes Mr. Big that you didn't even know was there. And he just
so one's grunting coming in, you keep grunting at him.
Well, so here's a good question. That's a good question. You're going to also know if there's a bigger bull coming in by looking at the bull that's in front of you, because he'll start looking over that other direction. He'll be like looking over here, and you're like, "What's he looking at?" Well, there's something over there, quite often. And if he gets real skittish, it's a bigger bull, because those little guys don't want to fight.
I think what Kyle's saying is we're talking about the shooter that came in.
Okay.
So we called from camp, but no response. Then at about 8 o'clock, we walked 200 yards back to that oxbow. That was kind of what we were doing.
Yeah.
It was only about 200 yards from camp. As soon as we got back there, I mean, we raked the brush one time or a couple rakes.
Well, we always kind of raked on our way back there.
Yeah.
Because we kind of make noise going through that brush, So
like an elk hunter would do.
Yeah, we kind of rake as we're walking, so it sounds like horns, Yep.
Yep.
But then once we got back there, as soon as we got back there, we heard him grunt, like right now. And so he was coming. He was like, circling, like they didn't want to come through that really thick stuff. How they got their little openings. But that whole time we kind of kept responding to him with grunts and rakes. And then he got to the opposite edge of that beaver stream at Oxbow, and where we could actually see him for in the brush, and we could see that he was a shooter. And then he like worked a scrape over there. And then he did come down into the water. As soon as he did that, we basically lost sight of him. And then we were still trying to, rake and grunt him in, but he didn't.
Well, we thought he was coming in at that point. We're waiting for him to pop up. And just never did.
He ended up walking down that water and then crossing back on the other side and getting in the thick brush.
So what should you do there is what you're asking?
Yeah, did we do something wrong where he didn't just keep coming in?
No, he sounds like he was trying to get downwind from you. That's what it sounds like. Offhand, he was trying to get downwind from it. What you could have tried, sometimes you just don't know what happened, but know that they're always trying to get downwind. And one of you could have started walking back towards camp grunting, and one of you could have stayed there planted, and that might have drew him in because he thought you were leaving, or you were walking off, or maybe if you were cow calling, then the cow was leaving, and that could have brought him in. But that's what I would have done, was that one there. But sometimes you just don't know, and you just kind of hold up and thrash the brush and just see what he's going to do.
So in your opinion, if that moose, of course you didn't see it and they're all individuals, and if we wouldn't have spooked them the way we did by taking a rip at them, do you think he might have just moseyed around and then been back the next morning possibly?
Could have been, yeah. I've shot moose, shot them. They're hurt. And they're running off, and I start cow calling, and they'll stop and turn around and come back to me. I've called them back to me before a hit. We were filming a show with Best of the West one time, and we latch shot him in the neck, and he took off like a thoroughbred across the valley, and I started calling, and he stopped, turned around, and we called him all the way back towards camp again. And then actually put the smackdown, the second bullet in him at that point. So yeah, a good cow call could turn him around even after a shot. So yeah, you could have. Did you even try cow calling at that point?
Afterwards.
Yeah, that could have done it. That very well could have been what you needed. And you wouldn't call at him. You'd call right. You'd face it down to the ground. Or I actually call it the 180 cow call, and you turn 180 and call directly away from him, so he can't pick apart your tones.
Oh.
And he knows you're there already, but it doesn't have to be a big loud one. It could be just one, or maybe a longer one, and maybe even kind of like walk that way, 180. Keep an eye on him as you're walking away. And maybe he thinks you're a cow leaving, and oh shit, here I come. And that would have probably worked.
I guess what prompted us wondering about that was the bull that walked across the river and come right into camp. He was coming. We heard him grunting and seen him from that gravel bar across the river, crossing that fishing hole.
Yeah.
And he was coming. He never missed a beat, never missed a grunt, and he walked in, and we didn't make a sound.
And you got the footage, right? And you got all that.
The footage once he got across the river.
Oh, okay.
Once we deemed he wasn't a shooter, then we started filming him.
And so then I get to the edge of the woods in the gravel bar, and man, I see him across the river, and I'm like, no way.
Oh. And you don't have a rifle.
Well, no, but then, I was like 30 yards from the tent, and I'm like, where the hell is Kyle at? And then I seen him, he was already over there, like, on a knee with his rifle. So I just dropped down and basically almost belly crawled over there. And that moose just never stopped. He just kept coming. Yeah. And then he we had the bead on him. I had it on his front shoulder, and we sat there and whispered to each other, shoulder to shoulder.
And yeah, that's not a legal bull.
No?
That's the kind that'll get you in trouble.
So, what do you think, like 46, 48?
Yeah, he's right at it. That's why it gets you in trouble.
Yeah.
My first bull looked just like that, and he was 49 and a half.
Yeah.
But he had 4 brow tines. That was my very first bull.
That's what we were talking like, man, he's probably 50, but it, you know, it ain't enough to shoot him, you know. I mean,
but still a great experience.
Oh yeah, no, that's what it's all about. I mean, it was just a matter of time, guys, and you were going to get the bomber in. It just was a matter of time, and
yeah.
So why do you think I mean, we didn't change nothing. Our calling technique, our camp was quiet. I mean, everything was the same routine. And we had the big moose come in, and then we had 2 moose the next morning, then the grizzly, and then we never seen another moose for 4 more days. 3 days.
you know, I don't know. Again, the big boys could have been harromed up at the lake. I mean, last year he said he climbed up on one of those ridges behind the hideout up there, and he counted 23 bulls across the valley.
He must have hiked about a mile to get up that ridge, huh?
That's some crazy hiking. I mean, the trees are just laid down on top of each other. If you went back behind the hideout there, behind that oxbow, you've seen it.
Yeah.
And it
Paddled back there one day, and yeah, it's pretty thick.
Yeah. Well, you got anything to say to the people that are going to be listening to this?
Just looking forward to doing it again.
Right on, man. Well,
I can't wait.
yeah.
You know, the other thing is, for a piece of advice, is like the information that you gave us in the book, Troy, you know, with like the meat lockers, you know, the hotel options, you know, all the different transportation options and stuff. I mean, that was a really, really good starting point. We called all of them people, talked to them, got pricing, but don't wait till the last minute for any of that stuff, because those folks up there, it's a lot of first come, first serve, and if you don't have your stuff lined up ahead of time, they're not going to really take care of you.
And have backup plans.
Backup plans.
Yeah. So how did you like the videos that I produced for you, landing in Fairbanks International, at Fairbanks International, and all the information that shared to eventually taking you through Google Earth, like you're flying over into camp at the hideout? How cool was that to see that?
It was pretty neat, because when we left in the bush plane, you know, I mean, it was kind of neat to be able to know, yeah, we're going to come over that big mountain right there,
Yep.
and drop into the river valley, you know.
And then you saw the gravel bar. You probably knew that was it before you landed, because
And we told our pilot, once we got really close, we said, "There's that lake right there.
Yep.
Let's go circle it."
Yep.
He did.
And there was a bull.
Just like I told you, there'd be bulls there. So that's some cool stuff. I mean, that's military integration into the video I learned in the military. That's what we teach our troops before they deploy. Seriously, they see that. They got guys over in other countries filming that stuff, and then they compile it and edit that, and then the people back at stateside watch those videos and those footages of real life. Those guys know what those streets look like before they ever get there. Before they ever walk down, they know what it looks like. They know what the door is that they're going to walk through. It's military grade, and I just put it right into my videos.
Yeah. No, it's definitely good training, and I mean, obviously ask questions, and once you buy the training, use you as much as possible.
What do you think I can do to make it even better for guys?
See, we knew a lot of, because we've done it, the moose hunt before, so a lot of, the gear, different things, but a lot of the questions pertain to how to actually hunt the moose. We didn't know what we're doing until we got out there.
We certainly did follow your strategy with calling and how to hunt them, but I think what it boils down to is when the person gets out there, you just learn so much, and this experience was a lot different than our last one. Our last one, we literally had no clue what to do. I really feel like we got lucky the first time.
Well, okay, yeah.
To be honest with you, I mean, we were cow calling on the 4th of September or whatever it was, or the 5th.
On the top of the ridge. You know,
top of the hill.
there we go.
You know, I mean, we never, basically all we ever accomplished was to push moose from our lake to the next lake.
And that's what happens. I mean, people don't realize it. If their tone is wrong, if it's not correct, you won't know that you're messing up, and you just won't see any moose.
And actually, then we were called with an R song too.
With an R? Oh, yeah. I have.
After watching your videos, then we changed that.
I've done that. I've pushed them away at the beginning of doing my moose. You know, my first years of calling, I pushed them away, and a couple of my friends, the first couple of years, they said, "Troy, don't moose call." And I was like, okay, I won't, because I want to kill a moose really bad. And my other two buddies knew how to call. They were guides, previous moose guides, and so I learned a lot from them. And then I learned a whole bunch from the natives. They came into our camps, and I would ask them how to moose call, and then they would show me, and then I would see them I'd see them in the trees. Back then when we had our own jet boats and river boats, and we'd go down the slough and we'd see them up in the trees, and we're like, okay. And then we'd see a bonfire up on the hillside over there overlooking the valley, and I'm like, that binoculars. I'm like, there's just like 4 of them up there, and they got binoculars looking back. They're looking across the valley to see where the bulls are at, so they can see where the river's at, or the slough. They can go to that slough, and right there on that bend, they know there's a bull out there tomorrow. Or maybe they'll do it right then. But yeah, they'll have a fire at the top of a hill, and they're just looking, spending nice and toasty warm, and planning tomorrow out.
Well, and what was big too that we learned from you was just the whole camping thing. You know, don't sit on a cold bucket the whole season. You know, like we
Right.
did deer hunt. You know, I mean, enjoy yourself, do some fishing during the day.
Yeah.
Have your campfire. I mean, that made it so much more enjoyable.
I've read.
Last time we went out for 18 days, never had a single fire. I mean, sit there wet and cold. We go to bed wet and cold, and this time is way better.
The other thing is too, and Troy, we know you got a really detailed list of stuff to bring, but and bring what you can. But like I said, there's benefit to going lightweight too. To have high quality gear that's lightweight. Not a ton of extra clothes. Bring what you need, and like Kyle and I, we've done a lot of hunts together the last 10 years, and one thing that we've really learned is to just share stuff.
Yeah.
Like we like to bring one Leatherman, but we don't need 2.
Right. Right.
Or when it comes to the food and stuff, really think about it ahead of time. Plan what you're going to eat. Plan that you got enough, but not too much, and just all the little things that really can save a guy. I mean, we used to each carry a little hatchet. Now we carry one.
Well, I mean, we
Right.
cut a lot of weight in our camp gear and our hunting gear. So much that, I mean, we were able to bring in 10 pounds of potatoes, some onions, a few pounds of burger, because we had the weight to do it.
Right.
Because we didn't bring a bunch of stuff weren't going to use.
Exactly. Yeah. And then that's some good stuff there. I mean, that's exactly what I think. I'm going to have to produce a video showing that very thing, because people, even though you tell them, they still don't get it, I think, until they see it.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, I mean, you can do without a lot of trinkets.
Yeah.
And bring some good food, because you'll benefit from a good hot meal rather than just every meal being Mountain House.
Right.
You fry some potatoes.
That's why I always tell people, you want to bring your Mountain House meals, and you want to bring your candy bars, and you want to bring. I always like bringing a thing of Tang, because I can mix it with water. There's always enough water around.
Yeah, we do that same thing.
And I learned that from sheep hunting.
Have you ever wondered why I'm always successful year after year after year, moose hunting all across Alaska? I get a 16-inch bull every single year that I go out. 1, it's having a good moose hunting strategy. 2, it's being able to moose call and knowing the right calls at the right time. And 3, it's implementing all of these 3 strategies together. You got to be able to know what call to use at the right time. So these courses are what I wished I had when I went out in the field, and that's how I filmed them, was that for someone like me to download the courses and take them out in the field and have a little bit extra guidance when I'm out in the field after spending all that money. What's that gonna feel like when you come home after spending all that money empty-handed? And the difference could have been whether or not you had my training courses to take with you in the field.
So what are you waiting for? You can find the link in my bio or down below under the comments.